Welcome to Fight the Good Fight Club, the podcast about the relentless pursuit of a life and relationships filled with purpose, love, joy, and peace. If you're ready to get real and dig deep, then you're ready for Fight the Good Fight Club.
Hi, everyone, and welcome. I'm your co-host, Cynthia Cintron.
I'm Marcel Pope.
And we are beginning our 10th episode. This is the last episode of season 1.
Awesome.
Are you excited?
Very excited.
I can't believe.
I know.
We're both alive. We're still together. Neither one of us has signed up for long-term therapy.
Well, there's some things I haven't told you. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, gosh.
I know. This is great. We don't really have an episode or a lesson that we're going to speak about. It's kind of a summary of the whole podcast itself, kind of like a not an executive summary, that's in the beginning, but it's like a conclusion of what this is all about, really.
A look back.
A look back. What is Fight the Good Fight Club really about? Well, what is the good fight? Well, it's really about the duality of our minds, and also about the concept of form versus content. This whole podcast series is really about content, not so much the form. And what we mean by that is you can have a content of something in many forms. And so let's for example, love. Okay? Nothing better than a great example of the many forms of love, right? And there's a gentleman who wrote a book called The 5 Languages of Love. So one form of love could be, I make time for you. And if time is your language of love, you're like, oh, that's a form, right? Planning time for you. Another form is touch. Another is a gift. Here's a form of love. It's called a gift. And some people speak different languages, but they're all the intent, the content of all those forms is love. Acts of service, words of affirmation, different forms of what? Love. And so this whole podcast series is about healing your mind, about being joyful and happy, being an extension of the one life that's eternal. That's really the underlying intent of this whole podcast. And you can get it from other forms. Some people get it from the Bible. Some people get it from other authors. Some people get it from different types of whatever forms they come in. But the content is really the same that most of us humans are looking for. So
yeah, and
it's the content.
And they're also it's put in different to your point in terms of content. For me, it's healing my inner child.
There you go.
So healing my heart, healing my spirit. So the whole point though is to heal, so that you can move forward. And whether it's your mind, your heart, your spirit, actually all of it, right?
All of it, right. So form versus, and that's important because to this day we are still having a lot of horror, tragedy in this world due to people fighting over forms, whether it be racism, religion. Still, after thousands of years, people are fighting about how someone looks or what they think.
And for thousands of years to come. It will continue.
And if some of these factions...
Do you know why it will continue?
Why will we continue?
It will continue because people will always have hurts. You can't escape it. You can't stop it. As long as we're human and we're on this planet and we are... Some people call it sin. Some people call it mistakes. But we're not perfect. No. So as long as we have the capacity to make mistakes and hurt, we also have the capacity to love and heal.
That's right. So that's what the good fight's about, is being aware of whatever fight you are currently engaged in and may not even know it. So part of it is being aware of whatever fight you're engaged in. And I have lived a large part of my life being engaged in a battle. I didn't even know what I was involved in. How could you fight in the battle? You're just caught like in a storm. And, again, I don't blame anyone, but deep down I have always been searching for that internal teacher because, again, that central belief, and it goes along with what this is all about, this whole podcast series, is all we need is within us. But how do you get to it, and how do you know what it is? You'll know. And so you had mentioned, how have we changed? I feel personally much, much better arriving at, because we started out with forgiveness, right? I had a lot of things on my mind that were just stealing me of my peace of mind. I was letting it be a wall and blocking the peace that's within me. And it had to do with, inevitably it's usually family, right? You need to look no further than your own family. And I thought, why is that? It's because your family is where your relationships are for the most part, right? And those relationships are usually unhealthy. So the backdrop of the whole podcast is, is trying to heal your mind, fight the good fight, figure out what that is. But one other thing, and this was somewhere in the course, I don't remember exactly where, I don't want to take the time to look it up, but there really is only one problem in our entire lives, and there's only one solution. As simple as that. Everything else are just forms of those two ideas. Then the one problem is fear.
Mm-hmm. That's underlying primary emotion.
If someone's angry or whatever, and let's say they're directly,
if they have shame,
would you say is
or
below
guilt?
What's below anger?
Yeah.
Hurt,
sad.
What caused that? It's usually a fear, a loss, and then a fear of that loss happening, or abandonment. But underlying foundation of that is fear. And of course, Miracles calls that an illusion. Yeah. Because illusions are temporary; they don't last, but they can rule your life.
Well, it's learned. It's learned behavior. Babies don't learn fear. Yeah. That's why it's so cool to watch the babies when they're learning how to swim and they throw them in the pool.
Right.
They don't know to be afraid.
That's right.
So it's a learned behavior. Yeah. So if it's learned, it can also be unlearned or managed.
That's it. So if fear is the one problem, the one solution is love. Right? So that's really what it all boils down to. And along with that is peace of mind, joy, and happiness all in there. So somewhere in the mix, we had talked about in the beginning, this roller coaster ride of up and down, happiness, sadness. And it's like when you get to the root cause. So I'd mentioned earlier that you tried to kill me.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So, Marcel comes over to pick me up to come to studio to do our episode. And he looked at me and said, you almost killed me. It's like, this morning. I said, okay, what? Sorry?
So now, I don't, when I do something.
But he wouldn't tell me why, so I'm going to learn with you all.
It is. So this morning, I'm in my office, I'm in my conference room.
When I try to kill you, I usually know that I'm trying to kill you. It's a little, disheartening to, not be part of it. Okay. So.
I never know until I'm defending myself somehow. That's when I'm attacked, right? So I'm in my conference room. We talked about what we were going to do, rather than trying to do a formal. Just try to
wrap up season 1.
Bring out what we've internalized. It's not
Mm-hmm.
rehearsed. We're not thumbing through pages looking for it's in us, and we're sharing it, and therefore we're receiving it. But I thought, okay, form versus content, fear and love. So I'm in all of a sudden. I feel a spider web fall on my face. You ever done that? Walked into a spider web?
Yeah.
Creep. And I'm like,
oh, it's awful.
I'm yelling. I'm like trying to wipe this. And I thought, oh my gosh, we have brown recluse spiders in my office sometimes.
Oh my gosh.
And
they're poisonous.
They're not wolf. They're brown recluse. People confuse the two.
Oh, okay.
But it was a wolf. And I thought, oh my gosh, so they're in here. So then, I'm walking, my conference room is pretty big. So I'm walking through. And I was trying to, kind of just go through my mind some ideas of what we would talk about today. Then my phone, I hear a text message. And as I'm walking this is how you tried to kill me. As I'm walking to see, I figured it was you texting me.
Well, it's good to know you answer when I text.
A brown recluse spider literally ran around the door jamb right by my face. And now can you imagine? I had the spider, must have spun a web, because I had walked by it earlier, and this time I felt the web. Then I thought, so what gripped me was intense fear.
Yeah.
I had goosebumps from the top of my head down to my feet, and all the hair stood up all over my whole body. And I thought, wow, that is fear. And I thought,
Did you think I was a spider? Is that okay? Oh, no, okay.
No, you texted me so I would walk and put me in death's way with that spider. Right? You knew that spider
I planned
was
it.
there. That's right.
That spider and I actually had coffee this morning, and we planned how it was going to happen. He said, "Okay, now listen. Just text at it precisely this time, because I know he's going to go into his conference room."
That's it.
That's exactly what happened.
So I thought, all right, just like before.
Dang.
You knew. Always trying to kill me. So, just like before.
Sorry.
Remember the snake before in the other episode that came up? So anyway, so now I'm thinking, okay. So I thought, I got to kill it. So normally they're in my office. I haven't seen one in a long time, by the way. So
okay.
I usually get a broom and I stab it with the bristles.
Oh, gosh.
So I went in my conference room.
This is such a spiritual episode. Is everybody feeling the love?
I know.
Okay.
I know. It's terrible. But there really is a good point. So
you stab it with the bristles?
No, I went in my conference room and unbeknownst to me, I remembered I had bought a fly swatter at the dollar store for this, and it was hanging by the broom, so I got it.
Is that a more loving way of killing it?
And I really felt bad because I believe one life, right, in many forms. So
the Buddhists are cringing.
All life, right?
Right. Well, I'm Unitarian, so there's a part of me that's cringing. Yeah.
So there's a lot to this, right? So,
yeah.
So it's coming around the wall, and there it was with its legs spread out.
Oh, was it waiting?
And so
like you guys were hand to hand, like you were facing each other.
And I
Holy
thought,
cow.
I wasn't thinking, I got to fight the good fight, right? So I got this fly swatter, and I hid, and I looked where he was, and I pulled back, and I swatted, and guess what? I missed him.
You missed
All of a sudden, he was running as fast, like imagine this on your face.
Oh, no,
okay,
no.
see what I mean?
Ew.
See, the thought of it invokes fear.
Yes.
So it's going up the wall, and finally I hit it, and I killed it, and it fell to the ground. And I started getting philosophical, going, oh, my God, I can't. Why did I kill it? Because I'm afraid. I am afraid inside of this thing, and I realized that's what humans do. They're really afraid of
something. You or me, buddy.
But, okay.
Poor Charlotte.
I started thinking, you know an
agoraphobic?
That's where you're afraid of everything?
Yeah.
Can you imagine how some people are imprisoned with this pandemic? They're afraid. They can't.
Well, actually, I told you I know someone who committed suicide recently.
They probably can't even eat.
Oh, they're terrified.
Machines package that food. But someone had to touch the machine.
Well, if you have anxiety, there are people I actually have friends who have anxiety, really, really bad anxiety, and they're really struggling through this time. Yeah.
And that's when I really identified, because I felt intense fear over this spider, which, by the way, I went and Googled it. Learned the difference between a wolf spider and a brown recluse. A wolf is usually 3 times bigger, and the brown recluse has 3 sets of double eyes. There's 6 eyes, and they're. I know, it's like, how would you get that close to look at it? I mean, but then they're not deadly. They bite, and usually there's like a fang mark, and then you get like a target spreading. But I started thinking, what about people who are afraid of everything? Yeah. And I'm thinking their fear is as real to them as my fear was real to me of that spider.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Actually, this is really, you're so smart.
I know.
You're so good, honey. But think about it. You can replace that spider with fear of relationships, fear of abandonment.
Exactly.
Fear of loss.
Exactly.
Fear of all the things that keep people locked in their place, that keep them so far from peace and joy and happiness and love. So that spider definitely represents all of those things. It doesn't mean that you have to murder that part of you, but you definitely coming to learn what it is, how it affects you, and identifying it. Right.
That's it.
Once you identify it.
And so that was the point of this lesson. Mm-hmm. One problem, one solution. So would love cure my fear of this spider? No, that's kind of a mismatch, right? Yeah. But that idea was there was fear in there. And I thought, how important is it because I'm looking at this, I'm going, why am I afraid of spiders? So my mind went, maybe in a past life you were bitten by a black widow and killed or something. But then I thought,
because they're creepy.
Well, some people have them as pets, so they die, they cook them up and eat them.
Because they're creepy.
to us. But there are people who love spiders.
The people are creepy.
I'm just being judgmental. You told
I'm
me
okay
don't.
with that.
You're okay.
I'm okay with that.
Well, maybe you're creepy not liking them from their point of view.
That's fine. I'm okay with that too.
But really, I'm sitting here and I'm going, why am I afraid? And I thought, is it important to me for the rest of my life to figure out why I'm afraid of spiders? I'm sure I could figure out deep down. I thought, that's a fight I don't need to engage in. I'm afraid of spiders. That's it. There's fear. I'll just deal with that fear the next time I see another brown recluse in my office or wherever. But I thought, that's not that important to me. But I did think about people who have deep-seated fears commensurate with the fear I experienced of that spider. I mean, I literally. Yeah. So I tried to quell my fear a little bit by Googling it and reading a little bit about it. And and he's still dead in my conference room floor, by the way. I haven't picked him up yet. So I know.
Okay, you're even smarter still, because now you also bring out another point that I think is incredibly valid. Yeah. Okay, so the first point that made you so very smart was that you identified that there's so many fears that we have that keep us imprisoned.
That's right.
And then the other thing is that we have a choice which fears we're going to choose to address.
Right.
So you know what? There's a spider every once in a while. It's not crippling. It doesn't keep you from going into your office. It doesn't keep you from sitting at your desk. It doesn't keep you from going outside or doing all these things. So that is a fear that you're like, maybe I'll address it. Maybe I won't. It's not a big deal. But maybe if it were a fear, say that you're terrified to set foot in your office. Yeah. Every time you sit there, you can't get work done because it's crippling you. And all you can think about is there a spider in my chair, by my feet? Is it all over the place? That crippling that would keep you from achieving the things and the goals that you want to achieve. Yeah. And along the lines of this analogy, I think that you make an excellent point. We choose what to address, and those are the fights that are the good fights to go for, right?
And so I did have a dream one time that one was on my chest like this, and it did this.
So it crawled up your face.
And that probably had something to do with it.
Oh, Lord.
But, digging it a little deeper, so a lot of the fears we were talking about, so this whole course, I remember reading that somewhere, and there's only one problem and one solution. But figuring out what they are. And then, so in life we have fears, and if you want to be in a relationship but you're afraid because of whatever you developed in the past, maybe bad experiences, and you're afraid of them happening again, if it's preventing you from getting what you want, then that's where the good fight would be figure out why I'm afraid to be in a relationship or whatever it is. Right. But
if you want to be in a relationship,
right?
I think this is our show has that component that I'm so proud about, that I really, really love, because it's true, right? If you're not a good friend to yourself, how can you be a good friend to others? If you don't love yourself, how can you love others? So I love the fact that we address ourselves first, so that then we can be able to address ourselves in relationships together. So that's one thing that's been really eye-opening for me. Right. I know that I've been working on myself for a lot of years, but definitely watching my development through. So I wanted to, we were talking this morning that we wanted to share what some of our journey was through doing these podcasts. So my Yorkie, I have a 6.5 pound Yorkie, Mimi. She is my baby. So she's my first adult pet, and really actually the first creature that I've bonded with so fully. So to explain that, I guess, and Marcel and I were talking, that I've realized through producing this podcast, she had surgery on Thursday, and Marcel drove with me to drop her off to the vet, and I dropped her off, and the moment I left, we got in the car, and I just got really weepy. I was crying. And then later on, when we went to pick her up at 4 o'clock, as it turned out, the reason that she was going to have surgery originally, she didn't have, so it was a better situation, but she did end up having to have, she had an infection in her gums, and we had to take care of that. And then I was supposed to pick her up at 4 o'clock, and they called, the vet's office called and said that she was having trouble coming out of the anesthetic, that they were going to keep her a little longer. So they did. And I showed up. Marcel and I went a little later. I spoke to the vet, and he said that they were going to keep her longer because she was still having trouble coming out of the anesthetic, and they had her on a heating pad because she's so little, and they're
afraid. She had a catheter in her paw.
Oh my gosh! Oh, she's laying on there. We go out there. There's all the staff are around her, and she sees me, and her eyes roll back. They open the cage, and she hears my voice, and she tries to get up, and she falls, and she starts breathing heavy, and oh my gosh! And it hit me, and I just started crying.
That was real. I really.
Oh my God! I'm thinking about it now, and I want to do it. And then so we go home. And without her, he says that he's going to take her home. And then if she's well enough, he was just afraid if her temperature dropped too far, she could go into seizure and it could be deadly. So we go home and we wait. Marcel stays with me, and the vet calls, and he brings her over, and she's still... she can't get up and walk and whatever, and I was pretty messy. I cried a little bit more, I think. I don't know. I was just so happy.
I've never seen you afraid.
Yeah.
You were afraid. You're afraid of losing her.
Yeah, I don't think yeah.
And exactly. So that to me, yeah.
So I stayed up on the couch holding her all night, and Marcel stayed over, and we don't live together. We will be. We're house hunting, but he stayed and to take care of me while I was taking care of her. And at 3:00 in the morning, he woke me up. He had come out and he put a blanket on her and covered me up, and he came out to check on us.
Yeah, I already told you I put the blanket on her first.
Well, it's good to know. Yes, I appreciate that. It's good that we know. She's always first. But one of the things I was telling Marcel this morning when we were talking, I said, it was shocking to me on the other side of it. How attached I am. And it's not, okay, so I'm going to sort of unpack this for you with me. I traditionally don't cry over anything. I remember having a conversation with my brother years ago saying, you know what? And my brother and I are very similar, my youngest brother. And we both have had this conversation with each other different times, that we never thought that we would be able to love anything, that we would never be able to love anybody, that we would never be able to have those Hallmark movie moments, because we just didn't attach like that. And I mean, I've had moments. I'm not an ice princess queen. But I can be pretty balmy. I'm not a weepy girl. So with Mimi, I mean, it literally just squeezed my heart in such a way. And I've had moments like this with Marcel. And interestingly enough, a week ago or 2 weeks ago, Marcel and I, after an episode, were talking about something. We had a disagreement about something, and Marcel didn't understand what I was explaining to him, and we were talking about it, and he was having, and I'll let him, I don't want to speak for him because I know that this is part of a growth that we've talked about, but I was really upset. And what I find, and I said to Marcel, I've cried actually more than I would like to admit to in our relationship. And what I realized this morning after this whole episode with Mimi was that my wall is down, and I'm feeling fear. I'm feeling sadness. I'm feeling love to a degree that I have never felt in my life. I am connected in a way that I never was connected before. And the reason for that was that I was so afraid of abandonment, that my wall was so high. And because that fear wall, I wouldn't let it come down. Well, guess what? If nothing can get in, nothing can get out.
Love can't get out.
I have this fortress built around me that's protecting me. And, well, guess what?
Fear can't get in, but love can't get out.
Love can't get in and love can't get out to the degree. So the wall has come down over the years because I've addressed this, but I haven't visited this in a long time because I thought I had it beat, right? Right? Don't we get it? We get it. I did that. We're beat. Nope. So since I've done the forgiveness work that I've done with my parents, there's just been, and then we've been doing these episodes, and Marcel and I were talking about how we've actually argued a little more than we ever have doing these episodes. And again, I don't want to speak for you, but definitely walls coming down, which is scary, but we're not afraid of the fear, right? We're not afraid of the fear. And we're feeling okay, and we're courage, right? We're fighting the good fight. We're having the courage to stay, to trust each other, to trust ourselves, to trust the things, because the goodies, right? The love and the closeness, they feel so amazing. First time ever that I've really, really felt depths of love. So while I was really afraid of losing my little girl, she's fine now, by the way. She's home and she's sassier than ever, thank goodness. What I realized on this side of it is the love of my life, my partner, is next to me, didn't leave my side.
Oh, Mimi's here?
Yes. My other partner in life.
I'm good with that.
You are my love is here, and I was able to appreciate and allow you to be there for me. And I've never been able to do that before because I could take care of myself. I don't need anybody, right? That's the voice in my... And a lot of women my age...
You need that little man in your little finger.
I need the little man in the little finger that says what needs to happen. But there are a lot of women my age, and we have these conversations. They're like, I don't need a man. I don't need his money. I don't need this. I don't need that. How, Cynthia, you're so lucky. You have Marcel. You're so lucky you have that relationship. And I always say to them, girl... You think that's luck? That's work.
Your friend doesn't have a clue, honey.
That's work. And you know what it is? It's also giving, having the courage to allow the space, to create a space where my boyfriend, my partner, can come into and be with me instead of keeping you out.
Yeah, and to dredge up the argument with that from my point of view, I'm not going to speak.
Oh, no, go ahead and say whatever you want to say, because it was powerful for us.
What you just said
powerful for
is
us.
what I was trying to say. Your wall came down, and what you felt wasn't my love. It was your love coming out, and that was all I was trying to say. The wall that came down wasn't my love tearing it down. I mean, it may have something...
Not tearing it down.
Yeah, but the point was, that was your love coming out, was what I was trying to say. And so the whole idea of this whole...
Right. And I also felt...
I spoke for myself. You speak for you now.
Thank you. I also felt the warmth of your love coming towards me. So yeah, we had a conversation about our interpretations about a lesson, and Marcel, I wasn't arguing with Marcel's interpretation of it, but he wasn't hearing that. He was hearing that I wasn't having the same interpretation, and correct me if I'm wrong. And I was trying to explain to you that I wasn't negating yours. I had my own.
I wasn't hearing you. You're correct.
And I was just telling you that I had my own feeling. Yeah. And so for me to actually use my voice, in the past I would have just shut up and just said nothing and just would have held it in with shame and guilt and fear and everything else and not stood up for myself. And I think that you understood at the end that I'm not controlling you. Because in the past, and I think in the past...
That's my hot button, right?
Ooh. Wow. You thought I was controlling you. And I was like, I'm not controlling you. I'm not trying to control you at all.
And where did that come from? From my past.
From your past.
Yes. So, but that's what all of this is about, right? And so one other concept along...
By the way, brand new stuff. Like this is stuff that just happened 10 lessons in. Yeah. Our having all of these discussions. And then at the end, I never felt closer to you. And you had said that you'd never felt closer
it's true.
To me. And
that's due to both of us. I'm feeling what's coming from you, but also feeling what's coming out. Right, I agree. So the other idea was with this whole course is has to do with my paper towel dispenser in my office. It had listen, it's a motion detector where you wave your hand. Well, listen now, this is really
I'm sorry, honey, I'm just going spiders, paper towel dispensers, give it to me.
But this is really profound. I'm serious. So listen, the motion light was on red, and I'm thinking it's been on for like a year, and finally it died. And so I opened it up, and there's 4D triple D batteries. They were corroded, man. And I thought, wow. And so I thought, I guess I need to check these, but I was going to throw it away. So I thought, nah. So I took the roll of paper towels out, put the cover of the batteries back in and closed it, and put a roll of paper towels in the office for people to use and myself. I did that 7 months ago. Oh. And it's been in my mind every time I go to the bathroom, I got to fix that, I got to fix that, And so this is my point. We let stuff occupy space in our minds. You know what I did this morning? I woke up, I went and Googled it, how to get rid of, corrosion. There were 2 ways to do it. One is you mix water and baking soda, or baking soda and vinegar, or just pure white distilled vinegar. I said, let me see. So I had some in the office, I poured it on the corrosion, it started fizzing. And then and finally it quit fizzing, took a little toothbrush, it looks brand new. My point is that was on my mind for 7 months. I did a makeshift solution, set it aside, and I thought, how ironic. That's how our minds are. There's corrosion in our minds. The one problem.
Fix it for the moment. Put a Band-Aid on it.
And the other thought I had was I ran this morning, and I haven't been really running for a year, and I used to run marathons, right? And I'm always saying to myself, God, I really should start running. Down on myself, I gained 16 pounds, I don't feel right. And I thought, so this morning, I thought I'm going to have 2 thoughts, one foot in front of the other, and let go. Because every time I've tried to start running again, I'm like, okay, I'm going to run for the next 3 months, and I set myself, I thought, I'm running now, that's all I care about, 1 foot in front, whatever comes into my mind, good or bad, let it go, and just focus. And I thought, I'm going to enjoy this. I'm not going to worry about if I'm going to do more running. I'm running right now. Yeah. And then, so back to the corrosion on the battery, it's like you can't worry about tomorrow. And it goes back to this whole podcast. We don't know if we have tomorrow. Yesterday's dead and gone, right? All we have is now. And I thought, trying to live what we're trying to learn and make it pragmatic and practical. So I texted you, I won't be available for the next 2 hours. You had already extended the podcast. Came back, and I wasn't worried about anything. I took my shirt off. I haven't been taking my shirt off.
Thank you, Jesse, for letting me push it forward. I worked late last night. I couldn't get up. But he also, we asked, that's the other thing too, ask for what you would like. Yeah. Because you could get a yes. Yeah. Jesse giving us that opportunity to push it back a couple of hours gave you a chance to run, gave me a chance to rest up.
I was worried for a moment that, hey, I hope this doesn't ruin Jesse's schedule. Maybe he had something planned. I had stuff planned with my mom's. But the bottom line was the stuff, this is one of my big takeaways for myself. And I used to do this. I'd write down what's on my mind. As long as I got it out, I thought I will get to it. But these things were just floating, and I nipped out 2 things that had been on my mind, one for a year, the other one for 7 months, and it took me literally 5 minutes to fix that paper towel dispenser in the bathroom. So the corrosion in our minds, what can we do to put like vinegar so they bubble out? So running, I used to think all the negativity bubbles out. That's why I love running. It's like therapy. And then I caught myself thinking, you've gained 16 pounds, you got it. And I thought, dismiss, let it go, let it go. Those are my 2 conditions, was 1 foot in front of the other and let it. So I thought we can do that, and that let it go, whatever it is. So fighting the good fight is realizing what's most important to you. And in this case, fighting the good fight for me, wanting to feel better and to run, I'm not going to tell myself I gained 16 pounds anymore. I'm not going to tell myself I feel fat, because that's what I've been doing. It's
still the best looking man on the planet.
Thank you,
just
baby.
saying.
Thank you. But it sounds corny, but it's these little things that erode the proper functioning of our minds, and they're not healed, and it's deeper than that, so many levels. So letting the fear go. And it's like, also, it's like, but the other thing I was trying to say is not being dependent on someone else to come by and say, I love you. Mm-hmm. Who has
loving yourself first.
I love you, but I'm not in love with you. That's just like the worst words to say and the worst words to hear, right?
Goodness.
And I'm like, become bulletproof. Hey, why didn't you just say something before? I'm good with you not being in love with anymore. That's fine. What do you want with your life?
You know what? Say thank you because they've given you an opportunity to move on, either to take that time for yourself, to love yourself, or to find love where that deserves you, that you deserve.
And what I realized about my relationship with you, I've been so guilty of failing in other. 50%, right? I usually would just clam up and go to work, and just use that energy to. So you and I kind of duke it out.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I tell you. So I saw the Bohemian Rhapsody. I caught I guess 3/4 of it. But Freddie Mercury had left Queen and went and signed on his own label, and then he was miserable. And then I don't know how much time passed, he came back and he pointed to each band member. He goes, the problem is everybody did what I told them. I didn't get the pushback from you, pointing to one of the band members. I didn't get the rewrites from you. And I didn't get the weird looks when something wasn't right from you. You and I push back on each other, and we respect each other's space. We don't give each other space. We respect each other's space. And that's a huge breakthrough, because in this life, really, I mean, for the most part, you could be alone, I could be alone. We can live alone and be happy. But I like being with you. And I think I want to be in a relationship with you. So, and the hard work is self-work. And we had mentioned before, we're continually trying to work out the crap in us. We want to work it out. And the way we do that is in relationships. But typically what's happened to me is someone else's crap is dumped on me. It's not worked out. They're not working it out. They're just dumping it and dumping it. They're getting more of it and dumping it and dumping it and dumping. And I've probably done the same thing. But so now, hey, I'm not going to dump my crap on you. But you're in some weird way pointing it out to me.
We're supporting each other.
And I want to work.
Mirrors.
I want to work it out, not throw it on you. I want to throw it over there and just get rid of it. Let it go. And that's where forgiveness. These lessons, forgiveness. Let miracles replace all grievances.
Yeah.
Okay. What are those grievances? They're hurts. They're abandons. They're losses. Or deaths of people close to us. Those are grievances that we hold and we project outward.
Yeah. You actually said. You said.
Wait a minute. You said. That was your early stages of our relationship.
It's an inside joke between us. You said. Okay, I did not say. Okay.
You made these promises. You said.
Stop. Okay, so I believe that I may have heard you possibly convey that something, a positive byproduct of the episodes are because we're exploring the stuff, that it's bubbling to surface. And that's why these last little bits are coming up. And I thought that was incredibly insightful, because otherwise it just lays dormant somewhere and it goes. But, we talk about this stuff and it's touching on different things that we've been working on for ourselves. I mean, there's no accident. You selected the lesson each week, and they're all of them, all 365 are valid. These ones that you've selected are incredibly foundational and important to get the work going. Forgiveness work, and we're never angry for the reasons we feel, and being able to receive and give love, being able to give love. That
to have it, give it.
Exactly. That bubbling these things to surface, and it's the first time that either one of us have explored these things, not only with ourselves, but felt safe enough to explore them in the relationship.
I think
in real time.
Part of that is we were aware of what the issues actually were and what we were actually doing. And because it takes two to tango, right? So when something fails, is it one person's fault, really? It could be something simple, as innocent as a lack of understanding of what was really happening. And that, to me, is what the form of the Course in Miracles form, the content of it is healing your mind. because there's a dual nature. There's a negative and a positive, a black and a white. Okay, and we choose, unbeknownst to us, we are always choosing. We don't realize it. So a habit is just an automatic choice that we made, but it's on autopilot now. It takes time to realize that and undo and choose another path. So it's like, I have no problem choosing a path where there are no spiders. Okay, there's spiders over there.
Yes.
I'm just going to choose this, right? And you don't need to solve every fear. And that was the big, you know what? Okay, I'll just deal with the next spider or whatever. And I do. That's a little blessing to the little spider. I hope your soul,
Thank you.
It's because it was life.
So I know the Buddhist in me is cringing.
But I still have some pain in me. I don't know what it is, but I think a bulk of it, what I really wanted to do was let it go. The anger at certain people in my life. And it's difficult because my mother lives with me.
Well, we were judging our anger as well. Think about it. We're upset.
Yeah.
We're upset that we're upset.
Yeah.
And then we're judging ourselves for that upset. And then we're judging the other people. I mean, it's just,
You're
it's
constantly
horrible.
projecting whatever's inside.
Yeah.
I wrote down a couple of things that I didn't.
Oh, okay.
So the corrosion was the big thing. So I'm going to tell you right now. If I've ever said anything to hurt you.
Oh, babe.
And it's corrosion in your mind. This is my vinegar. Please forgive me. I'm sorry. It wasn't my intention.
Thank you.
Okay. This is my vinegar, ironically. Supposed to be sweet, right?
Oh my gosh, this is recorded. I'm so excited.
I am so sorry.
Thank you,
But I promise you, I've never intentionally done or said anything to hurt you. And if I have, I'm sorry. Okay.
Thank you. Me
but
too.
that's my vinegar on whatever corrosive element I implanted in you. So, okay. But
Well, I think we finally, the one thing that we've had that's been coming up and up and up over and over, the recurring stuff, I think we finally got to the root of it.
And then the one other key concept that we had talked about was this idea of absolute versus relative. So one of the beliefs I have, and it may not be true, whatever, that we are an extension from an eternal source of life. We are, and so we're never disconnected. We're never abandoned. It's in us. Home is in us, where we belong. Yeah. But we venture out into this world. It's like we leave home, venture this world, but we're always home. And our Father's never left us, right?
Well, that's what Christians believe, that there's
right.
the Holy Ghost is
the Holy Spirit.
The Holy Ghost,
the Holy Spirit is always with us. So now, so that's absolute. The relative is, so when we're absolutely there with that, we're a drop of water in the ocean, but we don't realize we're a drop of water. We need to leave the ocean in our minds and go experience something that isn't true. Experience a lie, an illusion, that we die, that we hate, and we kill each other, and there's a fear. That's all from this relative standpoint. I told my kids, your first relationships, you're going to figure out what you don't want, and then you'll figure out what you do. Same thing in this life is a belief that I have, is that we realize who we are. Hey, I wasn't meant to suffer and to feel all this pain. Why do I? And that's what this whole course, the intent, the content of it, is to help you figure out what is really going on in your mind. Is someone else pulling the strings in your mind? Did they plant that seed? And if they did, you're the one germinating it, right? They just planted it. You grew it and germinated it. You can just pluck that thing out and throw it out. Our minds are fertile grounds, and we can plant weeds or flowers. And if we don't do anything, I promise you, someone will come plant a weed. Yeah. It's just how life is.
Well, yes, exactly.
And we got to pluck that weed out and plant the flowers we want. And of course,
and we also, when we were talking this morning about that concept, it sort of reminded me of a sculptor, right? And it made me sort of have a paradigm shift with the negativity, the negative space. You know how a sculptor will have a block of marble? Yeah. They cut away the negative space to get to the beautiful statue that's underneath. But you have to go through that negative space to get to that positive space. Yes. So I thought,
that's beautiful.
So we should really embrace that movement through the negativity to find what's really beautiful underneath.
What did Michelangelo say? He took a chunk of marble, there's an angel trapped in here,
That's
and I'm
right.
going to release it. So
That's
just
right.
right.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, absolutely. So we've got, I think on that note, we're going to allow our audience to take a little bit of a bathroom break. This is the longest, but there's just so much to discuss as we're culminating as we're coming to the close of our first season. When we come back, we're going to talk about what we have in store for season 2. We're really excited. So come back on the other side. Fight the Good Fight Club. We'll be back with you.
Thanks for listening. If you're enjoying this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please subscribe and tell your friends. For more tips and ways to dig deep and get real, sign up for our newsletter, read blogs, and shop our merch at fightthegoodfightclub.com.
Welcome back to Fight the Good Fight Club. You're here with Cynthia and
Marcel.
And we've been talking about season 1, all of our episodes, and the journey that have brought us here to our last few minutes, where we'd like to tell you what's in store for season 2. We're so excited.
Yeah, this season was more or less talking about the handful of ideas. One of the concepts was half a dozen things make up 80% of the difference. So we tried to talk about those in the first episode. And it was about forgiveness and peace, finding peace within. And so we talked about what we were doing to do that through the various lessons. That's really the vast majority of those lessons are working through the pain, healing your mind. So the next season is going to be pragmatically applying those ideas, and maybe through guests, I guess, is what you were saying. Bring guests in where we can talk and just openly share. And I guess in some way we will always refer back to the first season or whatever. Because
we'll continue. We'll continue to include lessons, because we're not done. We've only done 8 or 9 episodes or lessons from the Course in Miracles, and already Marcel and I are really enjoying individually and together the fruits of exploring this. We're not professionals. But we have been on this journey. We have been fighting the good fight for many, many years. We're in our 50s, I hate to say.
I love to say it. You lie, you're only 30.
Thank you. And but we've got a couple of relationships, marriages under our belts. We've lost. When you look forward and you imagine that you're at midlife, we may possibly have less years ahead of us than we have behind us. And if we don't start getting this right and really taking everything out of this life that we want to get, this is not a dress rehearsal. I know that we might believe in reincarnation or things like that, but the reality is that in this life with these people in this time, this is it. So, and if you do believe in your higher power and whatever it is that you believe, where you go, how you go, there's a reason why we're here. Whatever that is, I choose to believe for myself that I have a job. My job is to learn as much as I can, to share as much as I can, to honor this life that my higher power has given me with taking in these lessons and being the best person that I can be. I believe in the 10 Commandments. I believe that part of the reason that I'm here is to experience peace and joy and love.
That's it.
And
that's our function.
Right?
And that's why this podcast. Why don't we?
Well, if I'm on my deathbed and I'm not experiencing, if I'm on my deathbed and I'm not doing the pros and cons, and I don't have a long list of gratitudes and joys and loves, then I have wasted this life that came to me.
And that, of course, mentions that throughout the whole lessons is basically we are pure peace, joy, and happiness. Why don't we have that here? So
let's move through this stuff.
You said something interesting before I forget,
Mm-hmm.
real quick. So forget religion, but just think of everyone's heard of the 10 Commandments for the book. Okay, forget where it comes from, but just if you looked at them, and if everybody objectively, if everybody followed those, it would be
we'd be good,
much better. But one of the most that's It's talking about a donkey, right? It's talking about a donkey, I think. But I always thought that was funny.
Don't steal your neighbor's ass.
but no, in all seriousness.
You should, by all accounts, stay out of your neighbor's ass.
But it does, all they say, don't do this, don't. But the one thing it says to do is to honor thy mother and thy father. Everything else is don't do this, don't
all
kill.
Forms, right?
Yeah,
all forms.
Yeah, that's it.
When I said that other statement, I mean mind your own business, don't steal, and all that. I wasn't being, I wasn't going in the gutter there. I was just trying to be silly, but
I know.
but yes, absolutely. I mean, on surface, right? Don't steal. Yeah. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Be kind. I can't remember all the 10 commandments, but I know that I live my life really trying to be in peace and really trying to honor and be sensitive and be good to my neighbor and all that good stuff. So, so what's really exciting now for season 2 is that we are going to continue to explore, because remember, it never ends. We're on the journey. It's all about the journey, and we are fighting the good fight club always. And yes, we're not perfect, no matter how much we study, even after 10 episodes.
As long as we're on this earth, we're going to struggle with the duality of our minds, positive and negative.
And hopefully our listeners are on this journey with us, which is why we're inviting them into our second season. So for season 2, we will continue to explore our personal experiences with the lessons, and then we will also invite guests, couples, men, women, whatever journey, whatever fight people are fighting, we want to discuss it with you. We want to, if we have some words to share, maybe we will learn from you. I actually have mentors in my life. I have good friends that we will have on, Carrie and Mark, my dearest friends, and they are very excited to come on, and they've also been on the journey and continue on the journey. But I, professionally and personally, Carrie's always been my mentor, and it'll be really exciting to have others on. I was talking to a friend not too long ago, and I asked them if they had like-minded people around them, professionally, personally, in couples. Do you have people that set that example that you can connect with, that can set that you can bounce those ideas off of? So you have that not only in your relationship, if you're fortunate enough to have a partner that will listen and will share with you, but also outside of yourself that can help you, just explore and walk part of the journey with you, all of the journey with you, a few bits of the journey. Maybe sit on the bench along the journey with you. And
we're just sharing. Exactly. And we're sharing, right? The
whole idea totally
is because when I know throughout these several recorded, us sharing it means that we are solidifying it more and more within ourselves, because we're still fledglings as well. I mean, it's life, right? But we're more and more aware of what's going on in our minds, catch it, and then choose differently. And so the taglines are, fight the good fight club, still the mind. When you still the mind, there's nothing in there. You get rid of all the negative. And that's where the catch is. Hard to do that. When your spirit is freed in that same instant, and then that's where the peace within comes from. And that's really what all of this is about. I remember the one episode, I want the peace of God. That's all I want. Yeah. So all these things can only happen if you forgive, let go of all grievances. And then I think having the dynamics.
Well, we have to humble ourselves, right?
Absolutely.
And really have the courage. And we talked about this in the first few episodes. I know that for me, in workshops that I've done in the past, there was one workshop. It was a brutal exercise where I would stand. It was a team building exercise, and I stood. We each took turns doing this, but every single member of the team, I think there were 14 of us, so I had 13, would each take a turn telling me what their experience is of being in team with me. And let me just tell you that these years ago, it was so painful. It was awful.
So you were tough to be around?
I was, at that time, worse, more difficult. Super type A, super controlling. Still had my, anger issues.
You're describing yourself.
But I had 13 people stand in front of me one by one, and I wasn't allowed to say anything. We all did this, but weren't allowed to say a word, couldn't answer it, couldn't defend it, just had to sit there and look at them and allow them to have and take in what they said. And 13 people told me that down deep inside, there was someone, that I was very smart. They all said I was very smart. They all said I was pretty and nice. And then they proceeded to all tell me how difficult I am to work with, how controlling I am, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then after that, we broke for lunch. And I literally sat in my chair, quaking. I was so mad, tears rolling down my eyes. I wanted to destroy something. I was like the Hulk-S. And the instructor came over and said, "Are you okay?" Oh, gosh. "Are you okay?" I said, "Oh, yeah, peachy. Just so freaking fine." Can't tell you how fabulous I am. So, well, they're all like, "Okay, well, let's talk about it." No, I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to talk to anybody.
You said what you had to say.
You said plenty. Okay, Cynthia, let's be real.
And you paid for that.
And they said, he said, "Look, you could go." Here's what he said. Yeah, that's right. I paid for the course. I'm like,
If you enjoy our podcast, we invite you to subscribe to Fight the Good Fight Club on YouTube. Hit the notification button and give us a thumbs up. Also, head over to fightthegoodfightclub.com and sign up for the newsletter, read blogs, and more. Thanks for listening.